Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Tuesday. It's June 18th. This will be our chart lesson for the day. And what started out looking like it was going to be a real promising day, um, just kind of got quiet and not much happened for the majority of the day. Well, we did have this early trend up here, but you didn't get a whole lot of opportunity to enter it if you didn't enter down here just after the open on the regular trend. You could probably argue maybe for entering here, you could almost look at this as a double bottom. So you may look at this as a failure, but it's right into a midline, coming off a midline in the middle. There is a short-term trend line here, so you might argue for that, but you didn't really have a whole lot of evidence to prove that trend line until a little later up through here. So it was really hard to get in this trend up if you didn't catch it down here at the lows. And then from there, we just went sideways. There's a little bit of a sell-off here, and there's some trades in the afternoon. But, early this morning when we had the real movement, there just wasn't much opportunity to enter it. So just not a lot of good setups. But you can see this was the first leg up, and we started back up from here. So you'd look for a measured move. And you can see we basically got that. Looks like we probably got it almost to the tick. We might have missed it by, that's to the tick. You can't beat that for a measured move. So once we got that measured move, as you can see, prices sold off after that, and you got one leg down right here, and then a measured leg down, and again we got almost a perfect. It looks like we went a tick or two further maybe, and then prices tried to reverse. We really didn't reverse strongly, but we never went any lower than that either. So we just kind of went sideways really. So we did drop down we did have two legs of correction, and that's where you would look for a possible another leg up, but or either another leg down, and we didn't really get either one of them. We didn't even fill the gap. The gap was way down here, and so from the open we never even filled that gap. So there's a gap on the daily chart between the low here after the open into the low here in the white. That's after the open, the regular session open, and when the close yesterday was right here. So there's a gap on the daily between that brown line and those lows right there. So, and we couldn't even feel that. So just not a real, even though it looked like we were going to have a really nice day, this trend didn't continue. We got our two legs up, and then two smaller legs down, and then we just went sideways. So, and we had a little bit of sideways in there in between those two as well. So anyway, let's back out, talk about the trades, and wrap it up for today. But 7 o'clock came right across in here on this sideways, and it's just too tight to enter. I wouldn't even try to enter in there. There's not room to get out. But finally, you get a little failed break lower. I didn't mark this one blue because we didn't have a really confirmed trend line. You might have looked at this as a spiking channel up until here. That's what it looked like. But when we start going down, you want to get a measured move, which is what I did. I just copied that and drug it down really to the lows there, which was a measured move. And we ended up bouncing off that, but we aren't there here. So all you can really look at this is a failed break lower. And we're a little bit away from the EMA when we've been going sideways. It's probably going to snap back. So you may take that trade. I like that trade. It's only 3 or 4 ticks there, so it's a real low risk entry if you're wrong. It is a second entry because there's a double top here, and there's a first entry and then a second entry. So there are basically 2 legs down there as well. So it's close to being blue, but you just have to consider no trend line and just playing it basically as a failed break lower. And then we got a higher low here, which did bounce off the trend line. And you still got room to get out, so I marked that one as well. It took it a little while to get started. If you didn't enter here, I would have just skipped all this other. Once it started going sideways, you can see it creeping up the trend line, proving it for you, but you can't go long right into those highs unless you got room. So a break above here, maybe I would have liked it better if it broke lower, but maybe a break above right here. If you've got room to here, you may take that. But, the ideal place to enter is either take a chance here on a little bit more risk or enter here. And if you entered there and hung on, then you know, you can ride this all the way. And that's the only trade you need for the day, really. But that's a hard trade to hang on to if you can't find this channel and you see it creeping up that channel. Even then, it's still a little difficult because there's some risk that it could drop down one more time before it takes off, or it may even reverse there. But anyway, it's just a little more risky entering here. Your better two entries are down here, and there is a second entry long here, but this is just so sideways, and you're not at a key entry point. You could argue that you got one here, but it hadn't really been confirmed until you get a few more touches up to it. You can see that that's valid on up into here, but when it's just right, when that's what your chart looks like right there, that's hard to trust that line at that point. So, but you can see it turns out it is valid. And so it's just hard to go long right there. I just don't think you got enough evidence. You get another two second entry long here that you might consider as well, but again, you don't have a whole lot of room there, and you're not back to the key entry point. You're just right at the midline. You know, even though it does appear we're creeping up and down, we're below that midline, so it makes it more risky. But eventually, we get two more tries to go lower, and if it breaks above here, we may shoot on up and go all the way back up to here and make that measured move. So you might risk it there. Again, I think it's. I mean, you could even argue for this one. They're both basically the same trade. They're both kind of risky. They're into the EMA. This one you got a doji in there, and that one looks close to a doji, but that's more bullish than bearish. And this is really a double bottom, so that's a failed second entry short. So that makes that a little different than this, and that's why I originally marked it. But I don't like either one of them, really. Then we're just kind of going sideways. We drop down and we get back in here and come to find out there's just a little two-tiered channel working across here. You finally get a chance to enter down here. Notice that you got this support running across here. You got this double bottom, and then you test it once. You test it twice here, but you don't get a good signal bar. But then that's a lot of distance between here and here too. I like to see the little double test a little closer together, but notice you make that low. You test it once, you test it twice, and it actually breaks lower and turns and goes out the other side. When it went out the other side, I like going long. You could wait on this bar and put a buy stop above it, but you don't have much room back to that midline at that point, and it could get stuck there and turn back down. So the better entry is one tick above this bar when it broke above, but you could use either one of them technically. And your hope is it's going back to here and that maybe the trend continues on higher. And we run up just enough to get that measured move. But you don't want to go long. There's a failed second entry short right here, but it's right into these highs, and you can't go long there. You see it turn back down. It wouldn't have stopped you out, but you don't know that. So it could turn and come right back down again. And there's not really a breakout pullback long here. There is a little breakout, but it's not a very good setup. Then you kind of make that new high on that perfect measured move. It was to the tick as we saw. And you make a first entry and you shoot through the EMA, pull back, make a second entry. That's a good reversal pattern. It's also a second entry short right there. Nice bearish bar. I like going short there, and that's a nice move. That's the second best move of the day other than down here around 7 o'clock. 7th, or right at the open anyway. I guess this was right after the open, 8:30, 8:40 in there. Then we come back. We confirm that trend line there. We come back again with a lower high. And it actually broke higher right off that key entry point. Big bearish bar. I like going short right there. It actually ticks back again and gives you another chance. Now you got a failed second entry long. And it actually broke one tick higher and turned and went out the other side. So you could go short there as well. And I would look for a measured move here. I don't know if I would have ridden this out. If I'm in here, I'd probably exit. But if you held on for the measured move, you would have got it. But when it starts correcting that much and going sideways, you know, you probably want to go ahead and take your profit, and you can always re-enter. So you get another pull back to the trend line right here, but the signal bar is this bar, and that's way too bullish. This is just an inside bar. It's a nice bearish bar, but you can't trust it. If it would have broke higher here and touched again and turned down, I wouldn't have had a problem going short there. But that's still all part of the same move, and there's your signal bar, so you don't get a new setup there. Runs down, then we correct, and we get our first break of this two-tiered channel here. And you finally get a lower high. This one's a little bit concerning because there is some support here, but we did push through right there before we pulled back and turned down again, making that lower high. So you may, this is the main low you got to worry about, and there's plenty of room there. But this one is also a concern. So this one is real close to being able to say, hey, this is green. And you could argue for it to be green. But it's the first break, and we don't have a measured move yet, so there's a good chance we're going to try to push down and make a new low. And if you hadn't taken that one, you don't get another chance. You don't get a reversal till here, and that's really too big of a correction right there after a big leg down to really consider that. I'd want to wait on a second entry short, and you never really get a good, you could look at that as a second entry short, but that's just another inside bar on the same move down. So I wouldn't consider this a second entry until it broke higher and then turned back down, and then you don't have a very good setup. So and you actually already got a close and a new low, so this could be over, and we may turn and go the other way. So you got to watch for a reversal. You don't want to get into this. That's just suicide right there. You don't know which way that's going to break until it's broke, until it goes, and then it's too late. Of course, you got a leg up, so you may get another measured leg up. If for some reason you had an entry and could get in, then that's what I'd be looking for, a measured leg. And of course, we actually pushed up one more time there. But again, I don't get a very good setup. I got a big bearish bar. But then notice you got a double bottom. So first entry, second entry, you really got two measured legs up there. Leg one and leg two. And you're a little bit away from the EMA, big bearish bar. You got this working up, close outside, new high. Generally, you want to wait on a lower high, but you got all this resistance across here, so you may look at this. I don't have a line across there, but there's a lot of resistance right across this level right here. So you could look at that as a failed break higher. Come back, at least coming back to the EMA, and this could just be a bigger range here. You don't have a whole lot of price action at that point, but you can see there's basically another range there. And so you may be heading back down to test the lows, which is exactly where it went. So there's a lower high right here, but it's after 2 o'clock. But if you wanted to enter right there, I probably wouldn't have a problem with that one either, because it's a lower high, relatively small bar. And so I really wouldn't have a problem with that bar right at just a few minutes after 2 o'clock. And so that's what I saw today. Kind of a disappointing day after the way it started. Generally, when you get this strong of a leg up, you would expect a correction back somewhere between 25 and 50%, and then hopefully another leg up and another big trend for the rest of the day. But it just didn't happen today. So of course, we're right at, we just went above 2,900 again. So we're back getting up near all-time highs. We're heading towards all-time highs again. So it'll be interesting to see if we make it or not. Suddenly I'm losing my voice here. I'm sorry. But anyway, back out there, you can see the two legs up, and then there were two legs down, and then we just kind of went sideways, and just didn't, what looked like was going to be a real promising day. Of course, there are quite a few trades here in the afternoon, but especially coming off this trend line, the rest of these are, iffy when you start going sideways there. That's really the only trade you can take is coming off the highs or coming off the lows, and we traded down into this, so the bias is going to be down. You're going to be less likely to be buying than you would be selling on that on this sideways stuff here. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.